For International Women's Day, I'm drawing all 13 women who I know personally, and I think you're gonna cry as much as I did. The first woman I felt it would make sense to draw is my art teacher from high school, Miss Houndsman. If you think my drawings are bad, that's because Miss Houndsman was often sick, so lots of my art classes were taught by her husband, the handless houndsman, a local guy, he did not have a teaching degree. But one mean rumor I remember is people used to say Miss Houndsman wore that scarf always because it hid the fact that if you took it off, her head would blend into her shoulders. So the scarf compressed things to give some separation. And I mean, I do think that probably was the case, that the scarf was adding some separation, squeezing, making a sort of fake neck. Okay, it's a little embarrassing, this next woman, but I drew my celebrity crush, Baby Doll Gonzalez. Of course, everyone has a crush on her, and I don't know her personally, but just her online persona, but if you watch enough videos over time, you can infer a lot about the person. I've watched so many of Baby Doll's crazy stunt videos that I feel like I do know her. The way you'll probably feel about me if you stayed to watch all 13 women. I wouldn't expect anyone to watch the whole thing. I mean, this is a very personal video. I mean, these are just normal, everyday women who I know. Believe it or not, I have had a few close calls with Lady Vultress of Scavengers 6, who of course are the real world supervillain group who attack dirty people who smell like carcasses. I mean, they're basically they do what regular scavengers do, but they're super strong, and some of them have human traits like Lady Vultress. Though dangerous, I really appreciate that she is not wasteful, and it's something that's inspired me to use things beyond a point where other people think is acceptable. And she'll take you out to dinner. I said I'd do all 13 I know, so I have to draw my ex-wife, Madam Secretary Olivia Luxburg. I actually thought me and her were pretty good match personality-wise, but I just didn't have enough energy for her in the bedroom. I just wanted to hear her talk about her job in politics while we painted together, but she just wanted to get in the with a giant all night. So it was good, we went our separate ways, but Olivia, if you ever see this, I truly do hope you found a better man who could you in the with a giant. The next woman I'm drawing, it's my little friend, Lil Vanessa Chops, and I've seen her grow into such a violent young woman. I understand why a grown man can't be friends with a child they're unrelated to without people assuming the worst, but her father's my landlord, and he cut me a deal for tutoring her, and she ended up teaching me a few skills of my own with my own melee weapon of choice. Nothing was weird, and Vanessa would cut your off and feed it to your for suggesting otherwise. Next one is a challenge to draw because it's 3 women in one, known by the US military as the triplets. First thing you notice is how all 3 have nice womanly haircuts, and that's because they are pampered by the locals in exchange for her protection. And now this next thing is classified, so don't tell anyone I told you. But the US military had to pull out because there's only so many soldiers you can say died from explosives before people back home start noticing that all the dead soldiers have strangulation wounds only seen on people who are killed by snakes. All 3 are individually so inspiring as women. All together, they stopped the US military. I wanted to warm up on a few less important women before drawing the woman who is most important to me of my entire life, my mom. And I decided to draw my mommy in the moment I am most grateful to her for. I guess my mom read in some pregnancy book about how it's better to have a standing birth where you just let the thing fall out on a pile of hay like a giraffe. Turned out the book she read was actually a pregnancy book for ungulates. This one is just bittersweet. The girl next door, Zontaria. She was the smartest person I ever met, almost unhumanly so. We would play house together. I'd be the husband, she'd be the smartest. And we'd take turns playing doctor, and she'd check my heartbeat, and then I would examine her external bligba. Sadly, her family moved away. I was deployed to Afghanistan, and I have no idea where she is now. I always feel like that we actually could have been good together if we ever tried it for real. I've done a couple of videos where I get physical with non-human creatures, and that all goes back to Zontaria. Now, I don't even know what this woman's name is, but she hides under a local bridge. No tolls or riddles, she wants only to wrestle, and yeah, it's pretty endearing the first few times, but then you're just trying to get to work and she's gripping her muddy muscles onto your good pants. She always gets way too rough with it. Now when she waddles over to me, I just kick really hard. Oh, another woman I respect. On to lovely Turtle Dervins. She's such a sweetheart. Turtle Dervins' impact on me is pretty obvious. I served with this woman in the same platoon over in Afghanistan. We fought together against the triplets. Sadly, she has really become a recluse from all the Survivors Guild, from seeing so many friends die from inside the safe confines of her shell, which she would often retreat into like a coward, but she's such a sweetheart. But I do think she's a coward, and who could have done more. Okay, now I'm gonna draw actually the most recent woman who I've known. Lovely old Ladybug legs. Wait till you see those legs. Ladybug was actually a fan of my YouTube, and she happened to live close by, so we started hanging out and smoking weed together. But she's called Ladybug Legs because she was part of the famous Ladybug dancing troupe. She's the last surviving member. She killed the rest. Ladybug taught me every move I know. So if you think I'm good on the dancing, just imagine how good she is on her little ladybug legs. She might even show you if you're polite and smoke her up first. Now I'm gonna draw my sister. Her name's Amanda Nips. We had a pretty whimsical childhood in the forests or in the countryside with lots of good stories, but one of my favorite stories about Amanda is she once picked out a toy of the Imperial probe droid from Star Wars, and she really liked it for some reason, and she named it Star Wars Generator. That was its full name. Hey Star Wars Generator, which ended up being the name of an imagination game we played where that toy was like a centrally important device. You know, it was a generator of some kind of power. I mean, she was right. It does look like a generator, a Star Wars generator. Hi, my name is Star Wars Generator. Also, I think my sister is the only person who I know personally that is in a Buff Nips video, so that should tell you how much I respect this particular woman. Okay, perfect. I have just enough space to squeeze in the last woman who I know, Rhonda Marble. I actually found her not too long ago at the bottom of a bag of marbles. She gives me like conflicting stories about it, so I don't really ask anymore, but she's cool. She's really the only other person right now that I hang out with besides Ladybug Legs. We usually all smoke together down at the creek. Yeah, Rhonda, we call her Rhonda Marble. Wow, this is awesome. All 13 women who I know drawn on paper. Well, I hope you ladies don't get catty. Mom, you know I respect women. Ow! Ow! Ah! Ow! Ah! My brothers!